In this video, we're going to answer a very important question that a lot of people are asking themselves. Is it easier to be infected by COVID if you're unvaccinated compared to if you're vaccinated with 1, 2, or 3 shots? So that's a very important question. I'm going to show you actual real data, the most recent data available. The results are really going to amaze a lot of people, I guarantee. So I hope you will enjoy this video. But before we get started, I wanted to say one thing. I wanted to thank all the people who have come to watch these videos, to comment on them, to like them, and to subscribe. This is really, really appreciated and very important as well for the channel to grow. This channel is not just about me, it's also about you guys, all the people who come and who are interested in these topics, who want to learn more, who want to be informed in a scientific, unbiased way. And so this is very, very important that you keep on watching these videos and tell your friends about it, and also keep on subscribing and liking them, because that's what will make the channel grow and help me bring you more information. So with that being said, thanks a lot, and let's get started. What is a vaccine? I wanted to start with a simple question. Today we have to ask ourselves the question again, what is the definition of a vaccine and what is vaccination? This is taken from the Ontario province in Canada. This is their official website, ontario.ca. And what you see here is the COVID-19 vaccination data. They have a pretty nice website, actually, and they record the vaccination status of all people who live in Ontario, and also they record symptoms from people who are infected by COVID-19. And the first thing I want to show you is right here. As you can see here, the date is 16th of January 2022. So it's actual data, the most recent data we have. And it gives you the hospitalizations by vaccination status. In intensive care unit here, what is really interesting is that the number of vaccinated people is actually very high in ICU. Fully vaccinated is right here, as you can see. It's almost half of all the cases. Then a small portion or partially vaccinated, people who have got 1 dose of the vaccine, for example. So these are people who received the first dose and developed symptoms 14 days or more after receiving the first dose, or people who received a second dose but who developed symptoms between 0 and 14 days after receiving the second dose. This is more than 50% of all the people in ICU, and the rest are unvaccinated people, okay? And unvaccinated means people who did not receive any vaccine dose or people who developed symptoms between 0 and 14 days after receiving the first dose. Now, if we look at people who are at the hospital but not in ICU, large majority are fully vaccinated or partially vaccinated here. It's actually 75% of people at the hospital right now who are actually vaccinated with 1 or 2 doses. And vaccinated cases are right here. Now I want to show you this very, very interesting data here. So let me explain what it is. What is shown is the number of cases. COVID-19 cases by vaccination status. What you see is for the past 7 days, from January 10 to January 16, we have right here at the bottom partially vaccinated cases. Here we have unvaccinated, and the green line are fully vaccinated cases. As you can see, there is a huge difference in the number of cases. 8,500 for fully vaccinated, 1,458 for unvaccinated, and 365 for partially vaccinated. Now, if you do the math, this gives you an 86% rate for either partially vaccinated or fully vaccinated. And now if we look at the percentage of people who are vaccinated in Ontario, all ages, we have 84%. Okay, so according to this data, the number of COVID cases which are recorded follows exactly really the percentage of people who are vaccinated in the population, which means there is no difference between people who are vaccinated and people who are not vaccinated. As you can see, it's the same proportion. And vaccinated people represent roughly 14% of all of this population. And the vaccinated ones with 1 or 2 doses represent 86%, which is roughly the same number, 84% that we have here, which is reported for the percentage of people who are vaccinated. And this is for either fully vaccinated or partially vaccinated. As you can see, many more people are fully vaccinated than partially vaccinated. The numbers, again, match very closely these percentages. So very, very interesting data. And let me show you now, if we look over the past 90 days. Here is the situation over the past 90 days in Ontario. As you can see here, in October and most of November, actually all of November until beginning of December, the numbers were very, very low for all the categories, although they were higher for the fully vaccinated. But as you can see, these numbers are much lower than now, and now we see from the beginning of December or 15th of December to the end of December, beginning of January, huge increase in number of cases, especially for the fully vaccinated. We reached a peak of almost 15,000 on the 1st of January 2022. And vaccinated cases also increased quite a bit, but in proportion again, roughly in proportion, almost 2,700, which is roughly 18% compared to the number of vaccinated people. So that's a lot less than the fully vaccinated people. And then we see this decrease here, a little bit of increase, decrease, increase again. The numbers are still around 8,200 today for the fully vaccinated and 1,500 for unvaccinated. This is very, very interesting, I think. You have this increase here and a decrease. You have the same increase here and a decrease. And for the vaccinated with one, partially vaccinated with one dose, we have roughly the same trend, but much less pronounced. So this is very interesting. I wanted to show you that because it shows that the number of cases really mirrors the percentage of people who are vaccinated or not vaccinated, and that it looks like whether you're vaccinated or not does not really change whether you're going to be infected or not. So this data I just showed you is really interesting and surprising because that's not what you expect from a vaccine, right? You don't expect to get a vaccine, 1, 2, or 3 shots of a vaccine and still be infected shortly afterwards and develop symptoms and get sick. So I wanted to show you this. This is a paper written in 2021, so a very recent paper in the Annals of Internal Medicine. And they write here, as you can see, vaccines are deemed efficacious by preventing infection, transmission, mild disease, and/or severe disease. An interim analysis of the 2-dose regimen of the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine observed 95% protection against symptomatic disease. Very similar data were seen for the Moderna vaccine. So that's what they actually found in their trials, which were published in October and December 2020, just before the vaccines were given the emergency use. So vaccines were not actually authorized in the US, but they were given emergency use, okay, which is different. And this was largely based on this data, 95% protection against symptomatic disease. Now we know that the efficacy of the vaccines decreases very quickly within weeks after getting the shot, and it decreases from 95% to 60% after roughly 6 weeks, and then to 20 to 30% after 3, 4, 5 months, right? So that's what we know, and then that's the reason why you need to get boosters. That's very interesting. Now, I want you to look at this again. Vaccines are deemed efficacious by preventing infection, transmission, mild disease, and/or severe disease, which has always been true, right? Every time you've got a vaccine in the past, before COVID, it was very rare that people actually caught the disease they were supposed to be protected against, right? Now, who wrote this paper? Do you see this name here? Anthony Fauci, MD. You know who he is. May 2021. So it is really interesting. I wanted to share that with you because the data that we know today, just a few months after this paper was published, does not support what is written in this paper.